Nearly 60% of Medicaid beneficiaries report a lack of reliable and affordable transportation as a barrier to receiving healthcare services. So I want to talk to you about Medicaid transportation. Unlike all the other public transit that we've talked about, under federal regulations, under Medicaid policy, Medicaid has to provide transportation services to all locations in Kentucky, no matter how rural. To qualify for Medicaid transportation, you have to be a Medicaid recipient, and that includes the Affordable Care Act. The ride has to be to and from a Medicaid service, and you have to demonstrate that you lack your own transportation. Now, Medicaid provides two types of transportation. You've heard of EMT service. That's an ambulance ride. So those are folks that need an ambulance to get to an emergency health care. But Medicaid also provides non-emergency medical transport, and that's called NEMT. So what qualifies for NEMT? Any trip to an appointment or an activity that's paid for by Medicaid. So that's primary care doctor visits, specialist visits, dental care, eye exams, lab work, COVID testing, mental health appointments, behavioral health, individual and group counseling, speech therapy, occupational therapy, adult day programs, and supported employment. So NEMT is provided by 16 regional transportation brokers across the state. And you find out what region you're in, and there's a 1-800 number that you call to set up your Medicaid transportation. The funding for this transportation comes from Medicaid. This is federal dollars from Medicaid that comes into Kentucky, and Kentucky uses that funding. It gives it to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, and they have these 16 regional transportation brokers. And each of those brokers is a contract that they bid on, and it's awarded to a broker. All of this transportation is based on a per capita, capitated funding. That's per capita. So in other words, the budget for Medicaid transportation is based on the number of people in Kentucky who are on Medicaid. So in a region, those transportation brokers get funded based on the number of folks with Medicaid in that region. They are not paid per ride. They are paid on a head count of the number of people who are Medicaid eligible. So that's important to know, because the transportation brokers are going to receive that funding whether they provide one ride or 1,000 rides in their region. So it's important for consumers to know what services they can call for Medicaid transportation. You want to know everything on that list that you're eligible to call for. What we don't want to see are 60% of Medicaid beneficiaries missing important health care and appointments because they lack transportation. That's not right. And Medicaid provides funding for that transportation. What you would do is call the 1-800 number for the transportation broker in your area, and they're going to check your eligibility and they're going to authorize that ride. So they'll set up a ride to come to your home, depending on what type of ride you need. If you have any difficulty with Medicaid non-emergency transportation, there is a toll-free number, 1-888-941-7433. And this is Kentucky's Transportation Cabinet. They are over all of this Medicaid transportation. So if you have difficulties with Medicaid transportation in your area, like I said before, those transportation brokers receive a contract to provide those services in a community based on the number of people. They get the funding based on the number of people and not on the number of rides provided. So if you have any difficulty accessing that transportation, you want to be sure that you reach out. I want to share a little bit of information on KTAP and the Kentucky Works program and the transportation funds available through that. KTAP is a program that provides financial assistance and support to Kentucky families in need, and it's based on your family size and your income. KTAP is a social support program, and right now, because of COVID, Kentucky has unprecedented unemployment. It was the highest in Kentucky since the Great Depression due to COVID. And there are a lot of families that are struggling. There are a lot of families that don't have their income coming in. They have children at home and they don't have child care. There are a lot of difficulties people are facing right now. And there are transportation supports available through KTAP. So to apply, you have to have a low income or no income coming in. If you've been laid off or you're out of work, you have to have a family. You have to have kids under the age of 19 or be expecting a child. And you apply for this program at your local DCBS office. Now, KTAP provides things like food stamps. It provides child care assistance, but there's also a program under KTAP called Kentucky Works. And this program helps people re-enter the workforce by providing more assistance. And they will give you monthly transportation payments, yearly transportation repairs, and other support services. So let's talk about the monthly transportation payments. If you are KTAP eligible and you enroll in the Kentucky Works program, and that means they're going to help you prepare to re-enter the workforce, look for work, or start participating in work activities. You can get $200 per month just for transportation. So if there are 2 adults in the household that are both eligible for the Kentucky Works program, they would both get the $200 per month. It's paid a month in advance. Those funds are deposited to an EBT account. And if 2 adults in a household both join the Kentucky Works program, they each get the transportation payments. So a household can have $400 a month coming in just for transportation supports. Now, you can use that as you see fit. You can make car payments and your gas money. You can use Uber or Lyft. You can pay a neighbor or a family member to provide you transportation. You can use that money to pay for a bus pass. The Kentucky Works program also offers yearly auto repair funds. So a lot of these families have difficulty with their vehicle. They might have auto repair expenses, their vehicle registration cost, property taxes, license, liability insurance. It's very expensive to maintain a vehicle. The Kentucky Works program will cover $1,500 per year with these expenses. They also can provide $400 per year for things like driver's license, your exam for your driver's license certificate, the cost of photo identification, or if you're interested in a professional driving license. So what's the catch? Well, a family can only receive KTAP benefits for up to 60 months. That's 5 years in your lifetime. But the good thing is that you can stop and restart that participation as you need it. So families, for example, that have been affected by COVID or layoffs, they can enroll in that KTAP program. They can go month to month and have 60 months of eligibility for these benefits. So if this is something that would be helpful to you, I have more information on it. In fact, I have training videos that'll help you step by step understand the process and what you're eligible for and how to apply. You may work with someone or work with clients that might benefit from this information. So I think right now, with the pandemic, this is very timely. An accessible transportation presentation wouldn't be complete without talking about the Kentucky Assistive Technology Loan Corporation. And we call it KATLC. And they provide low interest loans for modified vehicles for qualified applicants with disabilities. To be eligible, you have to have a disability or be a parent or legal guardian of a person with a disability. You also have to have been a resident of Kentucky for at least 6 months. And you have to be able to repay the loan over time. You can use a KATLC loan for any kind of assistive technology. So if you need hearing aids, if you need speech equipment, if you need accessibility equipment for your home, you can borrow from $500 up to $25,000. Now, if you need a vehicle with accessibility modifications, you can actually borrow up to $50,000. The length of the loan depends on the life expectancy of the equipment purchased. So an automobile that's new, that you plan on using for a long time, is going to have a much longer loan term. The interest rate is prime plus 1.25%, and applications are processed in 4 to 5 days. I can't stress this enough. KATLC is not a typical bank loan. This is not like going to a bank. This is a program that Kentucky developed just to help folks with disabilities that would be turned down at a bank. Because they're different, they're able to look at all sources of income the same as employment income. And many individuals that would be turned down for a bank loan can receive funding from KATLC. So there's information in the handout with their website and their toll-free number. There is so much more transportation information that I would like to share with you. For example, A lot of the waivers have transportation options. One of the waivers has transportation budget. If you aren't eligible for one of the 1915C waivers, you might be eligible for HEART grant, the Heart Supported Living Program. And Heart Supported Living, with that, you're able to ask for a transportation budget and hire a transportation service to take you to work or wherever you need to go. So Heart Supported Living is a great option for transportation for people that are not on one of the 1915C Medicaid waivers. There are other programs as well. Office of Vocational Rehabilitation has driver training programs. They have driving simulation. So if you have, for example, a family member and you're trying to see if they might have the ability to drive, they have a driving simulation, and you can see they provide that one-on-one training to help folks be able to drive. There's also transportation to COVID testing. There are rideshare programs. There's a lot of information out there, and I would love for you to take a look at the transportation website that we've created at transportation.hdiyuky.org. And on that website, you're also able to find my information, my contact information, and you're welcome to contact me by phone or email, and I can help you figure out what transportation supports you might be eligible for. And if there's not anything in your community, we can talk about how you can advocate